Throughout the history of mankind, humans have always been curious. Now, this curiosity is a very good thing for the human race, as when we look at things, we don't just accept them for what they are, we instead ask questions. Is this right? How can this be better? And what's really going on here? And it's that one, the third question, which brings us to the topic of this video. So how are you guys doing today? My name is Mike, and today we are taking a look at the 2006 NBA Finals, or as it's better known, the 2006 NBA Finals conspiracy. Because as NBA fans, we are humans, and as humans, we like to talk about, was this draft rigged? Was this free agency signing set up months ago? And were the refs in this playoff series favoring one side? Which is what Dallas Mavericks fans, and in general just fans of the NBA, have been hammering home time and time again. They point to the 2006 NBA Finals as proof that the NBA is rigged. So today, we're going to take a look at this conspiracy and ask ourselves, are these Dallas Mavericks fans just mad that they lost? Or is the NBA really fixed? Let's get started. In a league dominated by super franchises such as the Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers, San Antonio Spurs, and Chicago Bulls, the 2006 NBA Finals was seen somewhat as a breath of fresh air. The year's championship matchup gave us two teams who had never before made an NBA Finals appearance. In one corner, we had the Miami Heat led by basketball legend Pat Riley. Despite finishing with a 52-30 record in the regular season, this Miami squad was full of talent, as 24-year-old Dwayne Wade broke out this year and averaged 27 points per game to cover for his wingman, Hall of Fame center Shaquille O'Neal, who spent most of the season injured but recovered to put together a monster playoff run that saw him play in every game. And while this season the Heat certainly had the talent to win the title, it was the Dallas Mavericks who were tabbed as the favorites to win it all. Finishing with 60 wins on the year, the Mavericks knocked off a perennial powerhouse in the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference semifinals. Then they sent league MVP Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns home in the Western Conference Championship. Led by superstar Dirk Nowitzki, a man who would take home the MVP in 2007, Dallas was loaded with three-point shooters and had owner Mark Cuban hungry for his first ever championship ring. And after the first two games of the NBA Finals, it looked like Cubes would get his wish. The Mavericks began the championship series with two convincing wins at home, as Dirk put up a heroic 26-point, 16-rebound performance to give the Mavs a 2-0 lead heading into Game 3 at Miami. And we're going to take a look at Game 3 later on in this video. I think if the NBA was pointing at one game in this series to say that this was not rigged, it would be Game 3. So for now, just know that the Heat won Game 3 by 2 and then proceeded to blow out Miami in Game 4, setting the stage for Game 5 in Miami. Quick note, I know this is so annoying, but if you like the videos on this channel, I'm going to be posting original content on Instagram once a week. So just make sure to go follow for bonus content. It's here in Game 5 where the whispers would begin to spread that this year's NBA Finals may have been decided before the players had even stepped onto the court. But before we get into the next two games, before I show you why people claim that the Dallas Mavericks got robbed of a championship ring, let's take a moment and listen to the words of one of the biggest disgraces to ever step foot on an NBA court. Because in his book Personal Foul, former NBA ref Tim Donaghy wrote, "I knew from the get-go that Dallas didn't have a chance in the NBA Finals. People in the NBA front office had no love for Cuban, and the majority of the NBA referees had even less. As the series began shifting back to Miami, the league office began flooding Game 3 and Game 4 referees with video plays from Games 1 and 2 that the higher-ups felt should have been called in favor of Miami. The message was predictable and very clear. Miami was going to have an advantage in its own building, thus prolonging the series and socking it to Mark Cuban. With millions of dollars of network revenue on the line, a sweep by the Mavs was out of the question, which meant Tim Donaghy, a man who had personal relationships with every NBA ref and league management, believed that the NBA would not allow a sweep to happen in the NBA Finals because that would lead to a huge loss in revenue. He also believed that the NBA had it out for notorious hothead Mark Cuban, as Cuban's off-court antics had led to a target placed on the back of the Dallas Mavericks. Donaghy would continue to elaborate more on his beliefs in a radio interview with ESPN's Galloway and Co., stating that referees have personal vendettas that they take out on certain players, coaches, and owners. Mark was certainly one of those people. In particular, Donaghy said that Danny Crawford bragged that the Mavericks rarely won playoff games that he officiated, and that Donaghy used this information to place bets against Dallas. Now, we obviously have to take this information with a huge grain of salt, as Donaghy has proven himself to be a piece of shit who is all about the money, so he might just be saying these things about Crawford to stay relevant. However, when looking at the 11 Dallas Maverick playoff games in which Danny Crawford took the court as a referee from 2002 to 2006, the Mavericks finished with a startling 1-10 record, which certainly makes you think that Donaghy may have been onto something here. Which brings us to the infamous Game 5 of the 2006 NBA Finals. In this game, the Miami Heat shot a staggering 49 free throws to the Mavericks 25. As if this wasn't ridiculous enough, Dwayne Wade himself shot an insane 25 free throws in this game, matching the amount of shots given to the entire Dallas Mavericks roster. But still, despite this huge difference in fouls, the Mavs hung tough and almost stole a Game 5 win. And even if you believe this conspiracy, you still have to give some serious props to Dwayne Wade, as he did connect on 21 of his 25 free throws and finished the game with a legendary 43 points. Along the way, he knocked down a runner to send the game into overtime with 2.8 seconds left. But unfortunately, this performance was mired in conspiracy talks, as after Dirk hit an absurd fall-away jumper with two guys in his face to give the Mavericks the lead, the Heat got the ball and this happened.
Wade looking for an opening, he's fouled!
Yes, you can see that Wade drives to the basket, splits Devin Harris and Dirk, and then gets called for this? At this point, I've looked at this play countless times. No one touches Wade's arm, no one bumps him in the air, no one fouls him. D-Wade was just out of control and missed the shot. But Bennett Salvatore, who had two referees closer than him with better angles, for some reason decided to blow his whistle. Wade would go on to knock down both free throws. The Mavericks were forced to take a half-court shot because they didn't have timeouts, and the Heat walked away from Game 5 with a win. And if you thought Game 5 was bad, well, Game 6 was just about the same. Again, Miami was awarded way more free throws than Dallas, as they shot the ball 37 times from the foul line compared to the Mavs' 23 attempts. Again, Wade in particular got several foul calls on drives, as he finished the game with 21 free throw attempts, almost matching the Mavericks' entire roster for the second straight night. And specifically with the Mavs holding a large lead in the first, Wade was given a questionable N1 call and then drew a suspect blocking foul on what could have been a charge. Now, even though these fouls did take place in the first quarter, they were still very important, as in the first, the Mavericks were in complete control of the contest at one point with a 14-point lead. However, these two fouls allowed the Heat to get back into the game, and with 3 minutes to go in the half, the Mavs again were up by 8, and again Wade was awarded an N1 when no contact was made, giving the Heat some momentum to take into the locker room. But still, none of these calls compare to this. With 30 seconds remaining and the Heat up by 1, the Mavericks needed a stop to take the ball with a chance to win. Only this happened. Yes, Dirk is called for a foul even though he was just standing there, and Wade clearly hit him with a forearm. From here, the Heat would go on to win Game 6, which meant that they walked away with their first championship banner. Oh, and by the way, Dan Crawford was a referee for Game 6. After the finals, Mark Cuban was so convinced that the NBA was out to get him that he hired retired FBI agent Warren Flagg to take a deep look at the league's officiating in the finals. And he almost went as far as suing the NBA over this championship series. For his part, Flagg would later say, "Cuban asked me what he should do. I told him, sue and you'll win your case." But he knew he'd be killing the golden goose. Which is just absolutely insane. But now that you've looked at the argument for why this might be rigged, we have to now look at the evidence for why this might not be rigged. Because on this channel, we stay unbiased. And in my opinion, if the NBA was really out to get the Dallas Mavericks in 2006, then they did a pretty poor job. To show you why I think this, let's take a trip back to Game 3, where the Mavericks were up by 5 points with 2.5 minutes left. They were in complete control of their own destiny, but then they had a horrible offensive possession, which ended with a shot clock violation. On their next possession, the Mavs again are forced to take a shot with the shot clock running down and simply miss a jumper. Wade then knocks down a shot to cut the lead to 1. Haslam makes a clean steal and makes 2 free throws to give the Heat the lead, and the game eventually ends up tied with 30 seconds left, which leads to a huge Gary Payton shot on one end and to Dirk getting fouled on the other, where in the choke of all chokes, he misses his second free throw that would have tied the game. But still, the Mavericks even got another chance to tie the game here, but again they failed to score. And so in Game 3, the supposed game the NBA was rigging to make sure they would not miss out on revenue, the Mavs held a 5-point lead and had the ball with just over 2 minutes left and just missed their shots. By the way, Dan Crawford was reffing this game too, and nobody had a problem with him. Looking at Game 5, with the score tied with 36 seconds left, Wade pump fakes and tries to draw a cheap foul that would have won the Heat the game, but the refs don't don't call anything here. If they were really trying to give Miami the win, wouldn't they give Wade 2 free throws? Then with 5 seconds left and the Heat down 2, Wade drives and draws contact at the rim. The refs could have blown their whistle and called this an N1, which would have given the Heat a guaranteed win. Instead, they decided this play was clean, and if Wade had missed this shot, the Mavericks would have won. They also would have won if Jason Terry had made this shot at the buzzer, and in overtime, the refs did not call a foul on this Antoine Walker drive, but they did give a foul to Josh Howard on the other end. So tell me, is it the refs' fault that Howard proceeded to miss both free throws? If he had made just one, or if the Mavericks did not completely break down and allow 37-year-old Gary Payton to score on a drive to the basket, then this foul call on Dwayne Wade's drive would never have happened. And when looking at Game 6, we find that both teams drew questionable calls from the refs. With just under 2 minutes left and the Heat up 4, James Posey cleanly steals the ball from Jason Terry and then gets called for a double dribble even though it looks like he never had possession of the ball. A call that you could clearly make a case was in favor of the Mavericks. Moving on, with 90 seconds to go, the Mavs force a miss but don't box out Haslam and he makes the putback shot. That's really the theme here. If the Mavs clamped down on defense, they could have won these games. Instead, they allowed Game 6 to be close enough where a questionable call would kill them. And keep in mind, they still have a chance to tie the game, but Dirk turns the ball over. Then they let Udonis grab an offensive rebound off of a foul shot, but the refs bailed them out with a travel call. And finally, Jason Terry missed a great look and the Heat ended up winning the game and the finals. And so, looking at the 3 close games the Mavericks lost in the 2006 NBA Finals, sure, some people are going to look at the difference in foul shots and say the refs handed the Heat a championship. But like I said before, can we really blame the refs for the 5 times the Mavericks had great chances in games 3, 5, and 6 to either tie or win the game in the closing moments but failed to make a play? Obviously, we can't, which to me says that while Mark Cuban may think his team got screwed here, I think a lot of people would disagree. And so with all of this said, you guys still might not know what to think. Now, regardless of anything, I don't blame Mavericks fans here. Sure, to say the NBA is fixed, that it's rigged, might be a bit of a stretch, and I'm not ruling that out here. I'm just saying there's no concrete evidence, so we can't say that it is. What I am saying is that the officiating seems to have been pretty poor in this series, and so I understand why Cuban and Dallas Mavericks fans are mad. However, the main thing I want you to walk away from this video with is the knowledge that Dwayne Wade is an assassin. Seriously, the man almost averaged 35 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals in the finals, which is one of the best NBA Finals performances of all time. Props to him. And with that, guys, we're done with this video. If you're new to this channel, I hope you subscribe. I make NBA conspiracies like this. I look at NBA history. I do what ifs. Basically, if you love basketball, if you love the NBA, I think you'll love this channel. And I would love to have you. We are on that journey to 1 million in 2017. And again, I know it's annoying, but I just want to say that I would really appreciate it if you went and followed my Instagram. Making bonus content there. If you like the videos here, you'll love them there. Trust me, it's gonna be cool. And yes, guys, have a happy new year. Have fun, don't go overboard, or do, it is the new year, and thank you guys so much for your support. 2016 has just been amazing, and it's all because of you guys. So as always, have an awesome day, guys, have an awesome year, and cue the music.
I've been down so long, they look like up to me, they look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me, straight up to my face, straight up to my face.